Arcanes are additional upgrades to our gear that we can equip once we get to the back end of Warframe. They work quite similarly to mods, and you'll have likely seen the slots over here on the right hand side, which is where they are equipped. These are additive to anything that you have on your Warframe. This means they are going to modify the base stats of your Warframe and not the finished ones. And as you can see, once you have some available, you're just able to come in here and equip them freely. Unlike mods, they don't have a cost associated with them, so you can put anything that you want in there and just put anything on that you feel is going to work well for whichever build it is that you are running on your current weapon. Once you have acquired and equipped your first Arcane, you'll find that you now have the Arcane segment available in your orbiter, which we can access right here. And if you come over to this and scroll down, this is actually a complete list of all of the Arcanes that are available in the game. You can see on the top left that it is separated into segments, and that's the order that I'm going to go in for the ones that I recommend that people might want to get and where to get them. This is going to be a generalist guide, so you're going to see something like Arcane Bellicose. People are going to say, yes, everybody must have this, but I feel like this is very specific to other Warframes. I'm using this as an example as to how I'm going to be making the suggestions for the ones that you should get first, and then you can obviously go out and grab all of the ones that you feel like you want for your specific builds. Starting out with Warframes then, I feel like it's hard to beat the Molt Augmented Efficiency and Vigor. Starting out with Warframes then, I feel like it's hard to beat Molt Augmented and Efficiency. These are basically just going to ramp up over time. As you can see, as long as you have some shield available, you get additional duration, and as you progress in a mission, your powers are going to get stronger and stronger. These come from the Zariman, which is realistically the stage at which you should be starting to farm Arcanes anyway, which is kind of convenient. And the best way to farm them is to run Void Cascade missions, which, quite conveniently for me, is available right now. And because Void Cascade is still probably the most profitable mission when it comes to farming Arcanes, because we can do this on Steel Path, so we can be getting endgame Arcanes as well as the ones that we get from the mission itself as well. So when it comes to this mission, you're going to find that we have these highlighted posts that we need to go and clear out. So they start out red, we go and clear them out. First off, you have to get into operator mode, close the little portal things, and then break the growths that are on the exilizers. Once that's done, you'll have a Thrax to defeat. We have to beat this, and this actually is the reason that we are able to get more Arcanes from this mission, because these have a chance to just naturally drop them, and this is affected by resource drop rate. So if you have a booster, or if there's a weekend, you can drastically increase the amount of Arcanes that you get during this mission. And as well as doing that, you'll find that we have the bar up in the top left. This builds up over time if you're not careful, but the way to bring it down is to just kill enemies within range of the exilizer, and that'll get it down pretty rapidly. I should have a clip of that for you guys to see. So whilst this can get out of hand pretty quickly, it's fairly easy to get under control as long as you get one of the posts cleared and then a load of enemies around it. Something like Nova that can bring enemies close and just annihilate enemies within range is going to be pretty good in here, especially as you can change the pace of the enemies. So when you need more enemies, you can speed them up. When you want them to slow down a bit, you can slow them down. Of course, we're going to get more of the Thrax trying to make them go red again, and the more of those we get to defeat, the more chances we get to drop the Arcanes. So this is pretty good, and so therefore I recommend running this, especially if you want to have an easier time getting other Arcanes later, because we will get into a way where you can farm Arcanes in a bit of a different way as well. But ultimately, you're going to want to run this mission, preferably as a bounty, so that you can be building up standing with the holdfast faction. As your standing rises, you'll find you're able to spend it at Cavalero right here. So if you come on in, we can go to Browse Wiz, and we have the Arcanes specifically on offer for standing as well. You can get them randomly and then fill in any gaps with your standing to be able to get all of those maxed out. So pretty easy and straightforward. Moving on to Operator Arcanes then. There's a lot that can be said here because there are all sorts of effects that you can give to yourself. I personally prefer to just go for a bit of toughness on the Operator for the times where we have to use it, or when we are clearing out things like in the Void Cascade. I like to take a hit or two just whilst I'm pouring damage out with my amp. But there's a lot of stuff we can do in here, things like Megas Repair. You can heal your Warframe whilst you're in Operator mode, and all sorts of other things. There's also Megas Drive, so you can make it so that the cave drive moves faster if that's something that you want to do. A bunch of other stuff as well. But I like the Megas Husk and the Megas Vigor, and for these we're going to want to head to Earth. Therefore, as you might expect, we're going to be going into Cetus, where we want to go and visit Onko, where you'll find half of the Magus Arcanes right here. The others are actually on Fortuna, but here we have Husk and Vigor, which are my favorite. Of course, you guys feel free to do whatever you want with your stuff, but I just prefer that additional toughness right there. Moving on to the Amp Arcanes then. These actually drop in the same place as my favorite Warframe ones. I don't need to explain too much. Eternal Eradicate and Eternal Onslaught. The idea behind having these two, we can get a little bit into build theory here, is on energy depleted, we get 180% crit chance, and we're going to get 60% damage on the Amp naturally. The way that you want to use these, mostly when you are fighting something like a Void Angel, is if you use the Madurai focus way. We have the Void Strike ability you can see on the left here, which consumes all of the energy to deal 10% additional damage for every percentage of energy consumed for 4. So that means the idea is you'll pop out, you'll consume all of the energy which procs this, so you're going to get 1000% damage plus 180% crit chance plus the 60% additional damage, so that you can just mill anything that you fire your operator's weapon at. When it comes to primary arcanes then, primary merciless and primary deadhead are going to be most people's generic go-tos. These are gotten in Steel Path, so you can actually get these on Void Cascade if you do it in Steel Path, or if you want to do this the easier way, easier but slower, to do Void Cascade and not in Steel Path, and then do Void Survival Fissures in Steel Path. This is because when you do it this way, you're very likely to find help in an endless fissure on the Steel Path zone, and you're going to get the Steel Essence while you're doing this as well. The bounties in the Chrysalith are always populated, so if you're struggling, you need some help, or you want to level something up whilst you're doing it, this is a good way to achieve that. When it comes to the secondary arcanes, it's very similar story. A lot of the time we're going to be defaulting to secondary merciless and secondary deadhead, but there is a caveat to this, and that is secondary innovate, which I just think is fantastic. You continually get more crit chance until you get big crits, which is just amazing, especially on any weapon that has low crit chance but a high crit damage rating, such as the Kuva Lich, and things like the Cascadia Overcharge as well. The main difference with these is that you're going to be getting these from areas that are later in the game, so I would recommend getting the secondary merciless and deadhead first, or at least partially the way into it, before you then move on to things like the Hex, so you can get these a little bit later. So this is a bit further into the end game than something like the secondary merciless, which is just going to give you that base damage straight away. The best thing about things like the Cascadia and the secondary though is they don't require kills, which means with the secondary deadhead and merciless, we have to keep on chewing through enemies. Once you start coming up against tougher enemies, not only are you going to kill them slower, you're then going to get less powerful because you need to keep up that rate of kills, whereas something that's just dependent on overshields or continually hitting an enemy is much easier to manage. Melee arcanes are very simple to explain because they all come from one place, and pretty much this is all that comes from that one place. Melee influence and melee retaliation have been my favorite so far as I've been moving through them. All you need to do for these is unlock the Sanctum Anatomica, so you basically just need to progress through the story, unlock this. All of the arcanes come from these missions. Just progress this syndicate. You can purchase them from the bird. You'll get them through doing the natural cells as well. For completion's sake, we'll talk about Kit Gun and Zaws together. As you can see, I haven't really participated in these very much because I just haven't felt the need, but they basically just come from the relevant vendors. So for example, Zaws stuff is going to come from Ostron because that's where you get Zaws from, and the Kit Gun stuff is going to come from Demos and Fortuna because that's where you get the Kit Gun stuff from. So if you guys are interested in Kit Gun stuff, you just get these from the exact same place where you're going to get your custom weaponry from. So I haven't really even looked at these very much, haven't done a lot with them. I mean, 50% additional combat chance is pretty good. Anybody that's doing these should already have access to them, so hopefully you guys are able to sort that out. We're going to finish on how to farm Vosfor. This is a specific mechanic that is given to you once you have progressed the game enough. Once you have started collecting arcanes, you are inevitably going to come across some that you don't care about, or extras, or just some that you in general that you don't need. You could sell them for platinum, but I don't tend to participate in the Warframe marketplace very much. I usually just burn all my platinum on things like Former and stuff because I'm a waste. If you want to start getting Vosfor, a very easy place to start getting it is in your syndicates as well. So this means once you've hit a decent mastery rank, each day you can get 200 Vosfor, which means we can get a pack of arcanes, and we're going to go over what we do with that right now. So what we want to do is we want to look at Demos, and we're going to head into the Sanctum Anatomica, where we can speak to Lloyd right here. Select Arcane Dissolution, and what we can see is we're actually, I obviously don't have any right now, we can use Vosfor to purchase a pack of mods. So I think, so we get 3 of these when we do this. That's going to allow you to get some extra rolls on arcanes by dissolving the arcanes that you don't care about, and then aiming to try and get the ones that you actually do want. The other good thing about this is if you are looking through the list of arcanes and you see something that you want, this is a good place to come and see where you get them from, because if it's not on this list, that means it comes from the Hex. So for example, example, if you looked at your list and you said, I want to get Primary Deadhead, you'd look on here and you go, oh, look, Primary Deadhead's right there. I get this from the Steel Path version of the game. If, for example, you said, I want to know where Maul Augmented is, you can see that comes from Holdfast. So you can always remind yourself where to get any kind of arcane from just by looking at this menu, which I think is very helpful. We'll finish off on how to unlock the arcane slots on your weapons. They come already unlocked on Warframes, but weapons require something specific, and this is back into the Steel Path. So you'll need to start farming Steel Essence for this. Make sure you are on Steel Path mode and head to any relay. So we can go to the one on Earth. As an example, let's go to the Strata relay and then make your way to Teshin. Speak to Teshin here, and you'll see that we can spend Steel Essence getting the arcane adapters for the weapons. Now, of course, at this point, you're going to say, but what about melee weapons? Well, let's get to that. To unlock the melee weapon arcanes, then, we have to go back to Sanctum Anatomica, where we can travel to Bird 3. We're going to look at its menu, and we'll find that along with a way to purchase melee arcanes with standing, we can find the melee arcane adapter as well. I'm pretty sure that's everything to do with arcanes, so hopefully that helps you guys out.